William Hayes straightened his tie as he stepped onto the gleaming platform. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council stretched before him, filled with representatives from over 200 alien species. Massive crystal pillars reached toward a ceiling that displayed a real-time hologram of the galaxy, stars twinkling and shifting as actual stellar events occurred. This was the center of galactic power, and humanity was still the newcomer. The human representative will now address the council regarding colonization rights in the Orion sector, announced the moderator, a tall, willowy creature with 6 arms, and skin that reflected light like polished metal. William nodded and approached the central podium. He was a man of average height with brown hair and calm blue eyes that revealed nothing of his thoughts. His plain black suit was immaculate, a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and biological enhancements displayed by many council members. "Distinguished representatives," William began, his voice clear and measured. "Humanity thanks the council for this opportunity to discuss our petition for expanded settlement rights in the unclaimed systems of the Orion sector." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Humans had achieved faster-than-light travel only 30 years ago, yet they already controlled 12 star systems and had established trade routes that rivaled those of species with centuries of space travel experience. The Orion sector contains 17 habitable worlds that remain unclaimed by any council species. William continued. Earth seeks permission to establish colonies on 5 of these worlds, with appropriate environmental protections in place. From the Zinthari delegation, a massive reptilian figure rose. Chancellor Vexmore's scales shifted from green to orange, a sign of agitation among his kind. The Zinthari had been among the founding members of the council and viewed humanity's rapid expansion with deep suspicion. The human speaks of unclaimed worlds as if they are simply waiting for their primitive hands to grasp them, Vexmore hissed, his forked tongue flicking between words. These systems have remained undeveloped by council decree to serve as buffer zones between established territories. William kept his expression neutral. With respect, Chancellor, those buffer zones were established 300 years ago when the Morrigan conflict threatened to engulf the quadrant. That danger has long passed. And now we face a new danger, Vexmore shot back. Humans spread like a virus, consuming resources at an alarming rate. Your species has not yet demonstrated the maturity required for responsible expansion. Sharon, Lewis, William's assistant, shifted nervously beside him. At 35, she was brilliant but still new to interstellar diplomacy. She passed William a data tablet with updated statistics on human resource management. Our resource utilization efficiency has improved by 43% in the last decade, William noted, displaying the figures on the chamber's holographic screens. Furthermore, we've developed new terraforming techniques that minimize ecological disruption. The Lorani ambassador, a being who resembled a tall humanoid with skin like gossamer fabric, gently raised a hand. Perhaps we should consider a compromise. The humans have shown remarkable adaptability. Their proposal might benefit from adjustment rather than outright rejection. Several other species nodded in agreement, but Vexmore's scales now pulsed with a deep red glow. You would reward their aggression? The Zinthari demanded. Since joining the council, humans have sought every advantage, pushing boundaries, questioning traditions thousands of years old. We question to understand, William replied calmly. Humanity respects the council's wisdom, but we also believe in progress through reasoned change. Progress? Vexmore spat the word. Your kind barely understands the technologies you've so hastily adopted. The Arxian delegation shared propulsion theories with you as a courtesy, and within a decade, you had outpaced their fastest ships. William smiled slightly. We're quick learners. The comment, meant to diffuse tension, had the opposite effect. Vexmore's tail lashed against the floor, creating a crack in the polished stone. You are children playing with forces beyond your comprehension, the Zinthari roared. Your arrogance endangers us all. Chancellor, William said, his voice still even, this discussion concerns colonization rights, not technological development. I suggest we return to the topic at hand. What happened next shocked the entire chamber. With a speed belying his massive size, Vexmore crossed the space between them. Before anyone could react, he struck William across the face with enough force to send the human staggering back. "You do not suggest anything to me, Dirtwalker," the Zinthari hissed. Absolute silence fell over the council chamber. In 3,000 years of galactic governance, no representative had ever physically assaulted another during formal proceedings. William straightened slowly. A thin line of blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, bright red against his pale skin. He dabbed it away with a white handkerchief, then carefully folded the cloth and returned it to his pocket. His eyes, when they met Vexmore's, showed no fear or anger, only a strange, cold assessment that made several empathic species in the chamber suddenly uncomfortable. "Moderator," William said, his voice unchanged. "The human delegation requests a recess to consult with our government regarding this unexpected development." The moderator, still visibly shocked, nodded quickly. "Granted, this session will resume in 3 standard rotations." As William turned to leave, Sharon whispered, "Should we file a formal complaint?" "No," William replied quietly. "Contact Director Miller. Tell her, Protocol Whisper is now active." The human delegation departed with perfect composure, leaving behind a chamber in chaos. Species argued among themselves about the unprecedented breach of protocol. Several called for Vexmore's immediate removal from the council. What none of them realized was that William Hayes had just sent a coded message to Earth, one that would activate contingencies years in the making. They could not know that beneath his calm exterior and diplomatic credentials, William was something far more dangerous than a simple ambassador. As he entered the private chambers of the Earth delegation, William's pupils dilated briefly. Microscopic. Nanites in his bloodstream received the activation signal from his neural implants. The transformation had begun. The Galactic Council had struck the human diplomat, unaware he was death in a suit. And now death was awakening. For 3 days the human delegation remained silent. No protests, no demands for justice. Nothing but closed doors and polite messages that Ambassador Hayes was in consultation with Earth authorities. The silence confused the council species, who had expected outrage or at least a formal complaint. In the private medical chamber of the Earth Embassy, William Hayes lay on a flat metal table. His body trembled as the nanites in his bloodstream multiplied and spread. Every muscle fiber, every nerve ending, every cell was being enhanced and transformed. The pain was beyond what most humans could endure, but William did not ask for painkillers. He needed his mind clear. Sharon Lewis stood nearby, monitoring his vital signs. Unlike most of the diplomatic staff, she knew what William truly was: a Thanatos operative, one of 37 living weapons created by a secret Earth program. They looked human, acted human, but contained modifications that could be activated when necessary. "Your heart rate is approaching dangerous levels," she said, concern in her voice. William's eyes opened. They had changed color from blue to a metallic gray. "It will stabilize. Has Director Miller sent the final authorization?" Sharon nodded. "It arrived an hour ago. Admiral Franklin has positioned the 7th Fleet near the Arcturus relay point. They're outside Council scanning range, but can reach us within 6 hours if needed." "They won't be needed," William said. He sat up slowly, muscles rippling under his skin in strange ways. "What's happening in the Council?" "The Zinthari are building a coalition. 7 species have already pledged support to sanctions against Earth colonies. They're pushing for restrictions on human ships in Council space." William nodded as if this news was expected. "And the others?" "Most are waiting to see what happens. The Lorani ambassador has been trying to calm things down. She's been speaking with several neutral species about mediation." "Interesting," William said. He stood up, testing his balance. His movements were too smooth now, too precise. "The Lorani can sense emotions. She must have detected something during the incident." Sharon handed him a tablet with the latest intelligence reports. "We've intercepted communications between the Zinthari and the Durgan Collective. They're discussing military exercises near the Sol Jump Gate." "A show of force," William said. He scrolled through the information. "They think we're weak because we haven't responded to the insult. This is good." Good? Sharon asked. Surprise is always an advantage. William walked to the window that overlooked the sprawling council capital city. Massive towers of crystal and living plant matter stretched toward the sky, connected by transport tubes filled with beings from across the galaxy. Request a full council session for tomorrow. Say that I wish to address the recent incident. Sharon looked worried. You sure that's wise? The transformation isn't complete. It's complete enough. William turned to her. Contact our allies quietly. Tell them to observe but take no action unless I give the signal. As Sharon left to carry out his instructions, William placed his hand against a hidden scanner in the wall. A hidden compartment opened, revealing a perfectly tailored black suit. It looked ordinary, but the fabric contained microscopic technology that would interact with his altered body. The communication screen on the wall lit up, showing the stern face of director Susan Miller. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, and her eyes missed nothing. Ambassador Hayes, she said formally, in case anyone was listening. Is everything proceeding as planned? Yes, Director. The Council has reacted exactly as we predicted. They mistake our restraint for weakness. The President has approved Protocol Reaper, Miller said. But he wants to be absolutely clear, this is a demonstration only. No lethal force unless Earth personnel are directly threatened. William nodded. I understand my parameters. This will be surgical. The Zinthari have refused all back-channel attempts at communication, Miller added. They believe they've won a victory. Their military ships are moving into positions that violate our previous territorial agreements. By this time tomorrow, they'll be retreating back to their own space, William said with calm certainty. Just remember, Miller said, our goal is to secure humanity's place in the Council, not to start a war. Wars are what happen when diplomacy fails, William replied. I am diplomacy's final option. The screen went dark. William turned back to the window, watching the alien city as night fell. Lights of 1,000 different colors illuminated the structures, beautiful and strange. On Earth, preparations continued. In a secure underground facility, President Alan Carter reviewed the final contingency plans. Fleets were positioned at key locations throughout human space, ready to defend Earth colonies if the Council reacted badly. I still don't like using a Thanatos agent for this, the President said to his advisors. They were created for worst-case scenarios, not diplomatic incidents. Admiral Joe Kelly, the grizzled head of Space Command, shook his head. This is exactly what they were designed for, sir. Controlled power. Hayes won't exceed his orders. How can you be so sure? The President asked. Because that's what makes Thanatos agents different from ordinary soldiers, the Admiral explained. They're perfectly in control, even when they become weapons. That's why they can serve as diplomats in peacetime. Two sides of the same coin. Back in the Council capital, most species were unaware of the events about to unfold. The Zinthari celebrated what they saw as a victory over human pride. Their ambassador, Vex Moore, boasted to allies about putting the humans in their place. The Lorani ambassador, however, couldn't sleep. Her name was Thala, and her species' ability to sense emotional states had picked up something disturbing during the council session. When the Zinthari struck the human diplomat, she had expected to feel pain, anger, or fear from him. Instead, she had sensed something else, a cold awareness awakening like a predator opening its eyes. She tried to warn several council representatives, but few listened. Humans were known to be emotional, reactive creatures. Their silence was interpreted as shame or fear, not restraint. The next morning, as council members filed into the great chamber for the special session, an atmosphere of tension filled the air. Many expected the humans to beg forgiveness or perhaps withdraw from the council entirely. Some even predicted that Earth would offer concessions to avoid further confrontation. None of them were prepared for what would actually happen when William Hayes walked into the chamber alone, dressed in a simple black suit that fit him perfectly. None of them understood that they were about to meet humanity's darkest creation. The Grand Council chamber hummed with voices as thousands of representatives from across the galaxy took their seats. Holographic projectors ensured that every word and gesture would be broadcast to trillions of beings throughout council space. This was to be a historic session, the formal response of humanity to an unprecedented insult. William Hayes entered alone. His walk was different now, too smooth, too measured. The simple black suit he wore seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Several security officers tensed as he passed, their instincts warning them of danger, though they couldn't explain why. The moderator, looking uncomfortable, announced, "The council recognizes Ambassador William Hayes of Earth." William took his position at the central podium. His eyes slowly scanned the chamber, noting the positions of every security guard, every exit, every potential threat. The nanites in his system had enhanced his senses far beyond normal human capability. "Distinguished representatives," he began, his voice calm and clear. "I come before you today not to demand apologies but to offer understanding." A confused murmur spread through the chamber. This was not what anyone expected. "Humans come from a harsh world," William continued. "A planet where death is our constant companion from birth. Our history is written in blood and sacrifice. Where many species evolved to avoid death, we evolved to understand it intimately." Several translator devices struggled to convey the nuance of his words. The concepts were alien to many species who had long ago eliminated violence from their societies. "For most of our history, we fought each other. Tribe against tribe, nation against nation, ideology against ideology. We became experts in warfare not by choice but by necessity." William's eyes found Vexmore in the Zinthari section. The Chancellor sat with his scales a confident green, surrounded by allies who had joined his coalition against Earth. "But our greatest achievement was not in creating more efficient ways to kill," William said. "It was learning to choose peace despite having the capacity for violence. It was discovering that the same drive that makes us dangerous can also make us the most dedicated protectors." From the upper tier, Vexmore's voice boomed out. "Pretty words to mask weakness. Your kind speaks of peace while grasping for territory like hungry vermin." The chamber grew silent. All eyes turned to William, waiting for his response to this second insult. William smiled slightly. "Chancellor Vexmore seems eager to interrupt me again. Perhaps he fears what I might reveal." "I fear nothing from humans," Vexmore declared, rising from his seat, "especially not from one who stood still when struck." "I stood still because I chose to," William replied, his voice taking on a strange metallic quality. "Just as I now choose to demonstrate what happens when that choice is reversed." What happened next occurred so quickly that many council members couldn't follow it. William's skin darkened to a deep gray as nanites formed a protective layer. His eyes shifted color, adapting to see in multiple light spectrums simultaneously. Security. Guards rushed forward, energy weapons drawn. William moved with impossible speed, covering 20 meters in less than a second. The guards fired, but their energy beams seemed to be absorbed by his suit, which glowed briefly before returning to its light-swallowing black. William reached the first guard and gently, with precise control, removed the weapon from the guards. Grasp disassembled it into 5 pieces in midair, and let the parts clatter to the floor. He did the same with 3 more guards before any of them could react. The chamber erupted in panic. Representatives fled from their seats. Emergency alarms blared. But William had already reached his target. He stood directly in front of Chancellor Vexmore, who had frozen in shock. "You should know," William said softly so that only the Chancellor could hear. "I could kill everyone in this room before the guards reach that door, but that's not why I'm here." Vexmore's scales had turned pale white, the color of extreme fear in his species. William raised his voice to address the entire chamber. "Please remain calm. If I intended harm, it would already be done." The moderator's voice shook as it came over the speakers. "What is the meaning of this, Ambassador Hayes?" "Simply a demonstration," William replied, stepping away from the terrified Zinthari Chancellor. "Humans have a unique neural structure. We can compartmentalize violence and diplomacy in ways other species cannot. What you're seeing is a Thanatos, operative, a human modified to become a weapon but only when necessary. He walked back to the central podium as security forces formed a wary circle around him, keeping their distance. For 3 days, we said nothing because we wanted you to see both sides of humanity. The restraint we showed when provoked and now the capability we possess when that restraint is removed. William activated a control on his wrist. Holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing images of Earth's hidden military capabilities, stealth vessels that could approach undetected, weapon systems far more advanced than what humanity had previously revealed. We've kept these technologies private not to deceive you, but because we understood how they might be perceived. Humans know our own history. We recognize the danger in our nature. That's why we created safeguards like myself. The Lirani ambassador, Thala, stepped forward cautiously. Unlike the others, she seemed more curious than afraid. What do you mean by safeguard, Ambassador? Thanatos operatives are diplomats first, weapons second, William explained. We're designed to understand both peace and war more deeply than ordinary humans. We serve as the line between civilization and chaos. He turned to address the full council again. What you need to understand is that I am not an exception. I am a warning. Strike a human diplomat, and you may discover you've struck someone like me. Attack a human colony and you will face much worse. The chamber remained silent as William continued. But we don't want conflict. We want legitimate participation in this council. We want to contribute our unique perspective to galactic society. One of the elder members of the council, a gas-based entity contained in a floating crystalline structure, drifted forward. You speak of peace while threatening violence. How can we trust such contradiction? Because the contradiction is what makes us human, William answered. Our capacity for violence ensures that when we choose peace, it is a genuine choice, not born from weakness or inability. We can be your greatest allies precisely because we understand conflict so well. William's features gradually returned to normal as he deactivated the combat enhancements. The nanites retreated beneath his skin. His eyes returned to their original, blue. The choice before this council is simple, he said. Accept humans as equals with all our strengths and flaws, or continue to treat us as inferiors and face the consequences of that mistake. The silence that followed was profound. For the first time, the gathered species truly saw humans not as primitive newcomers, but as something they had never encountered before. Beings who carried death within them, yet chose life. Who understood violence intimately yet sought peace. And in that silence, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted forever. The council chamber remained silent for several long moments after William's demonstration. Then, like a wave, whispers spread through the gathered representatives. Some spoke in fear, others in anger, and a few in reluctant respect. William stood calmly at the podium, once again appearing as a normal human diplomat in a simple black suit. No one who hadn't witnessed his transformation would believe what had just happened. The moderator finally regained enough composure to speak. This display was most irregular, Ambassador Hayes. The council will need time to process what we have seen. Of course, William replied. But before you adjourn, I have evidence to present that may help inform your deliberations. He pressed another control on his wrist device. New holographic displays appeared showing detailed records and surveillance footage. For the past year, several council species have been violating established laws and agreements. The Zinthari have been conducting illegal weapons testing in the restricted Deneb sector. The displays showed Zinthari military vessels firing strange energy weapons that distorted space itself. The Durgan Collective has been secretly enslaving pre-FTL civilizations in the Outer Rim. Images of primitive alien species working in horrible conditions appeared. And the Krell Imperium has attempted to sabotage human colonies on 7 occasions in the past 3 months. This display showed masked operatives planting devices in human settlement infrastructure. The chamber erupted in angry shouts and denials. Chancellor Vexmore, his scales now orange with rage, stood up. These are fabrications, human propaganda. The evidence has been verified by 3 independent sources, including your own internal communications, William responded. Full documentation has been provided to the council secretary for review. The moderator banged a crystalline rod against the floor, calling for order. These are serious accusations, Ambassador. If proven true, they would indeed constitute violations of our most sacred laws. From the Council's Security Committee, a stooped figure with luminescent tendrils extending from its head rose to speak. I have reviewed the preliminary evidence. The verification codes and quantum signatures appear authentic. A full investigation is warranted. More shouting followed. The council was dividing into factions before everyone's eyes. Some demanded immediate sanctions against the accused species. Others called for calm and careful review of the evidence. A few representatives simply left the chamber, unwilling to take sides in what might become a galactic conflict. William waited for the noise to decrease before speaking again. Humanity does not seek punishment for these violations. We seek a new beginning. We ask for three things: a formal apology for the unprovoked attack on Earth's representative, fair reparations for damages to human colonies, and a permanent human seat on the Council's Security Committee. The demands hung in the air. They were significant but not excessive given the circumstances. Many council members looked relieved that humanity wasn't asking for more after such a show of power. This body will need time to consider both the evidence and your requests, the moderator said. We will enter emergency deliberations immediately. The council is adjourned for 3 standard days. As the representatives filed out, many giving William a wide berth, Sharon Lewis approached him. That was quite a performance, she said quietly. Director Miller is pleased with the outcome so far. It's not over yet, William replied. Contact Laura Bennett. We need her diplomatic skills now more than our strength. Laura Bennett was waiting in the human delegation's private chambers. Unlike William, she was a natural human with no enhancements, just exceptional empathy and understanding of alien psychology. At 42, she had spent most of her career building relationships with other species. You certainly made an impression, she said as William entered. Every communication channel in council space is buzzing with what happened. Good, William said. Now comes your part. While they're afraid of what we can do, you need to show them what we want to do. Laura nodded. I've already scheduled meetings with representatives from 15 moderate species. They're nervous but willing to talk. Focus on the Lorani, William advised. Ambassador Thala sensed something in me even before the demonstration. She understands what we're trying to accomplish. And if the council refuses our terms? Sharon asked. William's expression remained calm, but something cold flickered in his eyes. They won't. They're pragmatic enough to recognize the new reality. Outside the council chambers, military vessels from various species began positioning throughout nearby space. The Zinthari moved 3 battle cruisers into orbit around the council planet, a show of force that violated protocol but wasn't technically illegal. Admiral Franklin, watching from Earth's hidden fleet, sent a message to Director Miller. Multiple species mobilizing. Should we reveal our position? Her response was immediate. Maintain stealth. Hayes has this under control. For the next 2 days, Laura Bennett met with dozens of council representatives. She visited their quarters, shared their traditional meals, and listened to their concerns. Unlike William's display of power, her approach was gentle, focused on finding common ground. Humans don't seek dominance, she explained to a gathering of moderate species. We seek balance. Yes, we can be dangerous, but that same passion also makes us excellent allies and protectors. To the Lorani ambassador, she was even more direct. You sensed what Ambassador Hayes is, but did you also sense why he exists? The control, the restraint that makes him not just a weapon but a guardian? Thala's gossamer skin rippled with emotion. I sensed purpose in him, a line that would not be crossed. It was unusual. Most species either embrace violence fully or reject it entirely. You seem to have found a middle path. That's exactly what humanity offers the Council, Laura said. A new perspective that can help resolve conflicts that have lasted for centuries. On Earth, President Carter received regular updates from both William and Director Miller. The response was stronger than they had anticipated. Some species had already reached out through back channels, expressing interest in closer ties with humans, now that they understood humanity's true nature. "It's working," the president told his advisors. "The council is beginning to see us as equals rather than upstarts." "And if they don't?" asked one worried cabinet member. "Then we implement Protocol Spectre," the president replied grimly. "But let's hope it doesn't come to that." As the third day approached, William met with Sharon and Laura to prepare for the council's decision. "The Zinthari and their closest allies will never agree to our terms," Laura warned. "They've invested too much in opposing humanity." "They don't need to agree," William said. "They just need to be outvoted." Sharon checked her data tablet. "Our intelligence suggests the council is split. Roughly 40% support our terms, 30% oppose, and the rest remain undecided." "Then tomorrow will be interesting," William said. He looked out the window at the night sky, where unseen ships maneuvered for advantage. One way or another, the galaxy changes forever. That night, as most of the council slept, emergency alarms sounded throughout the capital city. A Zinthari warship had fired on a civilian transport vessel near the jump gate. The transport carried diplomatic staff from several species, including 3 humans. Within minutes, William Hayes was awakened by Sharon's urgent call. "The Zinthari have attacked. They're claiming it was an accident, but our people are in danger." William's eyes shifted to gray as he activated his enhancements. "Tell Admiral Franklin to move one ship, just one, into visible range. It's time to show them what happens when diplomacy truly fails." The emergency council session began before dawn. Representatives arrived in states ranging from panic to grim determination. News of the Zinthari attack on the civilian transport had spread quickly, adding a dangerous new dimension to an already tense situation. William Hayes entered the chamber flanked by Sharon Lewis and Laura Bennett. His enhanced senses detected increased security, guards with more powerful weapons positioned at every exit. The council was taking no chances after his previous demonstration. The moderator called the session to order. "We face a grave situation. A civilian transport carrying diplomatic personnel has been fired upon. The Zinthari delegation claims this was an accident during standard military exercises." Chancellor Vex Moore rose from his seat, scales shifting between orange and green. "We regret any loss of life, but our ships were conducting lawful maneuvers in our designated sector. The transport deviated from its filed flight plan." William stepped forward. "The transport followed its approved route exactly. We have the navigation logs to prove it. This was not an accident but a deliberate provocation." Before Vex Moore could respond, a massive holographic display appeared above the chamber. It showed a sight that caused gasps from many representatives. An Earth vessel had appeared near the council planet. It was unlike any human ship previously seen, its hull black as space itself, its lines elegant and predatory. "The USS Nightshade," William said calmly. "One of Earth's Phantom-class vessels, previously unknown to the council." It responded to the distress call from the transport. The Zinthari Chancellor's scales turned fully orange. "This is an outrage. Bringing military vessels into council space without authorization." "The ship is alone and weapons are powered down," William replied. "Unlike your battlecruisers, which arrived 3 days ago, with weapons hot and targeting systems active." Another holographic image appeared, showing 3 Zinthari warships in orbit around the council planet. Their weapon ports glowed with ready energy. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Many representatives turned on the Zinthari, demanding explanations for this clear violation of council security protocols. The moderator struggled to restore order. "These accusations and counter-accusations solve nothing. What of the civilians on the transport?" "All passengers and crew were safely evacuated before the ship suffered catastrophic damage," Laura Bennett said, stepping forward. "The Nightshade arrived in time to rescue them. 3 humans, 7 Lorani, and 12 representatives from other species are now safe aboard our vessel." Relief spread through the chamber, followed quickly by renewed tension. The situation was balanced on a knife edge. One wrong move could trigger a conflict involving dozens of species. Thala, the Lorani ambassador, moved to the central speaking position. I have communicated with my people who were rescued by the human ship. They confirm that the Earth vessel took no aggressive action, even when Zinthari ships targeted it with weapons locks. The humans showed restraint when they had every reason not to. William nodded in acknowledgement to Thala, before addressing the full council again. The evidence of Zinthari violations has been verified by your own security experts. Their attack on the transport proves they cannot be trusted, yet humanity still does not seek war. He paused, looking directly at Chancellor Vexmore. We seek only what I outlined yesterday: an apology, fair reparations, and a seat on the Security Committee. These terms are now non-negotiable. The room fell silent. Everyone present understood the implied threat. The Nightshade was certainly not Earth's only hidden vessel. If humans could conceal such advanced technology, what else might they be capable of? The moderator conferred quietly with several senior council members. After several tense minutes, it spoke. The council will recess for 1 hour to consider its response. All military vessels are ordered to stand down and power down weapons, immediately. As representatives filed out, Laura Bennett approached William. This could still go either way. The Zinthari have deep alliances with powerful species. They also have many enemies, William replied. And those enemies now see an opportunity to reduce the Zinthari influence. During the recess, frantic negotiations took place in private chambers and secure communication channels. Species formed new alliances and broke old ones. Promises were made, threats delivered, compromises reached. When the council reconvened, the moderator announced, "After careful deliberation, this body has reached a decision. The evidence against the Zinthari and their allies has been found credible. Their actions constitute serious violations of council law." Chancellor Vexmore hissed in anger, but remained seated as the moderator continued. By majority vote, the council accepts the terms proposed by Earth. The Zinthari will issue a formal apology for the unprovoked attack on Ambassador Hayes and pay reparations for damages to human colonies. Additionally, humanity will be granted a permanent seat on the Security Committee. William's expression remained neutral, but Laura and Sharon exchanged small smiles of relief. Furthermore, the moderator added, the Zinthari, Durgan, and Krell delegations will be subject to formal investigations regarding their violations of council law. If found guilty, additional sanctions will be imposed. Chancellor Vexmore stood slowly. His scales had turned a dark, muted green, a sign of grudging acceptance among his kind. He approached William, towering over the human. The council has spoken and the Zinthari respect its decision. Vexmore said stiffly, I offer formal apology for my actions against your person, Ambassador Hayes. It was unworthy of a council representative. William nodded once. Apology. Accepted, Chancellor. I look forward to more productive discussions in the future. The ritual words had been spoken, the conflict formally resolved. Throughout the chamber, representatives relaxed visibly as the immediate threat of conflict faded. Later that day, in a private meeting room, William sat with Thala and several key council members. The nanites in his system had been deactivated, returning him fully to his human appearance. There is one thing I still don't understand, Thala said. You called yourself a safeguard. What did you mean? William considered his words carefully. Humans have great capacity for both creation and destruction. Thanatos agents like me are the balance point. We channel and control humanity's potential for violence. Without us, you would face something far worse. Your restraint is what makes you dangerous, observed one of the elder council members, not your weapons or your strength. Precisely, William agreed. Death is our teacher, not our master. We accept its inevitability, which makes life all the more precious to us. 2 weeks later, William returned to Earth. The Nightshade and other hidden vessels had been formally registered with the Council. Human representatives were being integrated into various committees and exploration initiatives. Many species had begun studying human history and culture, trying to understand this paradoxical new member of galactic society. In Director Miller's office, William delivered his final report. Mission accomplished. Humanity has secured its position without resorting to actual conflict. And the Zinthari? Miller asked. They'll behave, at least for now. Their status has been diminished but not destroyed. They're pragmatic enough to accept the new reality. Miller nodded, satisfied. The President wants you back in the field soon. Several aggressive species have suddenly halted planned attacks on vulnerable civilizations. They fear human intervention. William smiled slightly. Good. Fear is useful when it prevents violence. As he left the building, William looked up at the night sky. Stars that once seemed distant and unreachable now represented humanity's expanding influence. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Strike a human diplomat at your peril, for you may awaken death itself. But they had also learned something more valuable, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our capacity for violence, but our ability to choose peace despite that capacity. In understanding death so intimately, humans had gained a unique appreciation for life, and that, more than any weapon or technology, would be humanity's true gift to the stars.